please begin because I need to hit live on the two Instagram connected. Like, oh, we're live. Go on.
Okay. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us yet to this another wonderful episode with a very fascinating topic from culture to strategic thriving. How Africans in Germany can build influence, opportunity, and legacy. These are very big promises. And today I'm again with my co host and partner, Mike. Mike, would you like to say a word or two before we get into the topic?
100%. Thank you very much, Stevie. And to everyone who is watching us or listening to us today, I'm glad you're back here. Stephen and I, we co-own Opportunity Pulse, the company or the organization that is behind this podcast. And this podcast is brought to you in collaboration with Setly, the migration platform that we're building to see that migration is easy for everyone, is sustainable, and that you can keep connecting with relevant people. Still talking about that topic or in that area, Germany, where we are based, is changing, and Africans are becoming part of that transformation. But the big question remains, are we simply surviving or are we strategically thriving? Frankly speaking, that's something that if you really care about your stay, be it in Germany or wherever abroad, that you genuinely have to ask yourself. So, this special podcast explores how Africans in Germany can build stronger careers, businesses, partnerships, and communities while preserving the cultural identity that we have. And why is this relevant? If you recall, Stephen, in the other conversations that we've had before, we talk about how, yes, as Africans, we move abroad with existing baggages, every stuff weighing us down. And sadly, it's also not common knowledge from where most of us come from to understand that, hey, things are not very easy abroad, that you're going to a foreign country. You will face by default challenges. I mean, interestingly, from where we come from, there are already challenges there. And how much more in a country that you're a complete foreigner? And now that already by default, kind of puts you in, let's say, a disadvantaged position. But on the flip side, where you come from also, still talking about cultural background, also helps or offers you incredible advantages. And that is essentially what we want to tap into. Going back to the topic of today, how Africans in Germany influence, can build influence opportunities and legacies. And this for us is the mindset that we want Africans in Germany to begin to think and not just putting always the challenges in front of them, but seeing the advantages that they carry by default that can help them to begin to build influences, opportunities, and legacies. Stevie.
Wonderful, wonderful, Mike. I think you've just nearly preempted the whole discussion of today, but
Sorry.
your introduction, which in a way makes it even more exciting. And like you said, I think the question is, are we thriving? The part that I would like to draw back on, as you mentioned, we all come from somewhere. Or the student that we bring, the people that we help to migrate and move to different countries, they are coming from somewhere, and there is something from that place that they're maybe looking out, they're looking out for something unique, right?
Yep.
But on the other side, there is also that push factor. I nearly talk about those two forces in the migration space. Once is the push factor. What
Yep.
is it back home that is pushing you? Either the lack of opportunities, the lack of jobs, or the lack of recognition for talent and skills that you
Yep.
think the other side of the world will appreciate. We see
Yep.
this a lot in the health sector where you see nurses or doctors being paid peanuts
Yep.
for 13, 12 hours a day of work. So
Hmm.
that's the part that you've touched. Yes, already there is enough problem that somehow we're running away from, but then doesn't change the fact that where you're going, there are also new problems that are going to emerge.
A hundred
And
percent.
that plays a huge role in that process of survival, the initial survival mode.
Yep.
Um, but as we are here today, we're talking about beyond survival and we're talking about thriving. Um, which will bring me, Mike, to the first question of, I don't know if you can answer this.
Please.
Are Africans in Germany truly thriving?
Who? Um, Frankly speaking, from what I see every day,
Mm,
I I cannot proudly say yes. I
mm,
couldn't say that, right? But we can look at other communities in Germany, and
mm,
there is no hesitation to say the yes,
mm,
right? But when it comes to Africans in Germany thriving, I would
mm.
hesitate to say yes. Are
Uh,
some people thriving? Yes, but the
if
fraction.
you
Hmm,
allow me to ask, Mike, your answer was very straightforward, and you didn't think twice. Probably give me some benchmarks or measurements. How are you measuring that to say they are not, frankly speaking, and probably other communities are? What are you seeing in those other communities that is actually working for them?
very good question. Uh, I think one area is to see it by this. Let's really start with things that are very obvious and practical.
Mm,
Let's talk about the different business owners in Germany that we know about.
mm,
Majority of them are sole proprietors.
mm,
Einzelunternehmer. That's the first
yeah.
type.
Mm,
And I don't, versus other communities that you see that own like normal regular companies, Kapitalgesellschaften, all the different types. So this for me is like one direct and obvious benchmark.
mm,
I'm really thinking now, maybe I don't know so many people, but the
mm,
most African business owners that I know, they are sole proprietors. And the problem
mm,
with sole proprietorship is it mostly dies with that owner. The owner is gone, the owner is not in the picture, there's no company anymore, it's done. It's
mm.
hardly transferable, inheritable, you
No
know?
continuity chances.
No continuity. And why are they mostly sole proprietors? Well, it's easy to start, less
Mm,
challenges, but I think to a large extent it's also the vision to build something sustainable and understanding the gap
mm,
that exists that you can actually close, you know?
mm,
So
mm,
it's like most of us, we have the entrepreneurial mindset, but
mm,
we're mostly doing it backdoors, low key, and then still struggling with one full time job or another and a million other things that are
mm,
not only distracting you, but sucking your energy.
mm.
And so, this for me is like one very obvious benchmark. Maybe you can correct me, but that's one that
No,
I
you're
definitely would mention.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. Also talking about sustainability and continuity. So if you look at the famous families, the biggest owners of brands here, even though we have African migrants who have been longer than 60 years even here, it's very hard to find some of those names, that brands that you can say it
Yeah.
has an owner, a founder who is an African descent or Latin American descent or the Caribbean descent. And so then even to add on that, Mike, the other part, what I would prefer to talk about would be leadership, because with leadership also comes influence and comes
Yeah.
network.
Yeah.
Besides the ownership in terms of business ownership and business startup, there is also a lack of representation in leadership.
True.
And by lack of representation in leadership, it means we are not at the table. When they decide things for us and
Yeah.
about us, we are
Hmm.
not there to give the perspective
Yeah.
about how we think about what is being discussed about us, how we
Hmm.
feel
Hmm.
about what is being discussed. At. In that way, also, we are already predestined to surviving, because everything that comes and you're not part of the decision process, they are going to think for you. And I think this is one area I would give you a point on that, that yes, we are not thriving on that. And
Yeah.
probably the last part is where I think we can do better is in the area of networking.
Yeah.
You've talked about the other communities. Give an example of the Turkish community, or even the new entrants into the market, the Syrian communities, who simply came, most
Crazy.
of them in the early 2005.
Yeah.
These communities are well networked.
Yeah.
And these communities are well funded and resourced. Of course, with network comes funding and resources.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot to do there if we are
Yeah.
going to push that button of thriving and move from or beyond surviving.
Yep. And just for
Yeah.
the sake of those who are watching us across the different media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and wherever else this is broadcasting to, please, we are not here talking to put blame or whatsoever, but we are simply saying the things that we experience, what we see. We probably
Mm,
may be wrong, and we would love to hear from you wherever you're watching this from. Please drop a comment. And if you would like to also jump onto the show and also share your opinion, we're more than happy to also send you the link to jump onto the show. We may
certainly.
not have enough time to go through it, but for sure, we
Mm,
definitely would love to hear from you, be it on this podcast or the
mm,
next. You can find
yeah.
my details and Stevens online. Feel free to get in touch. We are here to speak out, right? And
Mm.
talking about people coming out, and this is
That's
also
the
one of the
first
things.
stage, Mike, right?
Yeah,
The first
exactly. Because
speaker.
if you don't speak up, if you're not out there, no one's going to hear you and have no idea what exactly you are talking about, or rather, what it's even the problem.
Mm,
Before we
yeah.
continue, I would like to give us a bit of the flow of how the conversation is going to go today. You already
Mm,
have an idea what's the key point that we're talking about today, how Africans can build influence, opportunities, and legacies. And now the
mm,
key segments are going to be first the context, which we already talked about briefly. What are those things limiting us? We will discuss some of the few points shortly. Then the next section would be about employment, from participation to positioning yourself. How can you get into that space? Because again, that is one major bottleneck for most of us, either settling for less or not taking up opportunities where we truly can lead, as we already mentioned before.
mm,
And then we will talk briefly about business, networking, and partnerships. Again, these are the sectors or the areas where you truly begin to build influence, opportunities, and legacies. Very important.
mm,
Finally, if we have time, we will touch on investments and economic power. And
mm,
finally, the whole visibility, which is what we essentially need to
mm,
grow. We usually have around half an hour for our podcast, which probably may not be enough for this, but let's see how the spirit directs us. So,
mm.
Stevie, without wasting further time, maybe we go to the
Yes.
first segment.
Yeah, thanks for giving the context, Mike. Just a follow up on that question of are we thriving or are African migrant thriving? I think we have kind of given an idea of where they stand, where the status quo is. But we are not also here to lament about problems or
Of course
to
not.
put ourselves in the corner to say situation is so and that's how it's supposed to be and forever and ever. I mean, we're
Yep,
also here to say how can it be different? And
100%.
Mike, I think one of the key areas where things can change radically is, in my opinion, and I guess you and I have shared so often about this, is mindset change. Do you
100%.
think that change of mindset could be the starting point to this narrative?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
There's hardly any way that you could do things differently if you don't
Mm,
have the right mindset.
mm,
I give you a couple of examples. I think
mm,
you and I, we are pretty much risk takers. We hear about opportunities. Most
yeah,
time, other people would want to do their due diligence, whatever that means, before jumping
yeah,
on the opportunity. But for us, it's more like, hey, this is something great. We already project what it could look like in the next X number of years, and we
mm,
jump on it. We learn on the go. Probably this is not the case for a lot of people, but the reason we do this is also because of the mindset, realizing the strength that we have, the opportunities that we can actually create, and very importantly, understanding that hey, instead of lamenting, you are actually in a good position to create opportunities here, and
mm,
you have a lot of merits. So
mm,
that mindset to understand one's capability, what one is able to do, that mindset to understand that hey, I can actually do something. It's really what changes everything,
right.
because the what we see the most is just complaints, 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 and then the next level is maybe not complaints, but not thinking far. Not just hey, let's just manage this thing. Let's keep it as it is now and not try to spoil it, something like that. But we need to have, you
Keep it
know,
safe. Yeah.
keep it safe, like don't risk it. But trust me, in the current world that we are now, the safest people are not those who try to keep it safe. I think they are those who try to disrupt, because that's the only
Mm,
way you see the other side. Everything which is blocking you, you want to break it down. You want to see what is going to happen if I do this thing. You know,
mm,
what's the worst case? What I always ask myself before I jump on anything is, what's the worst thing that could happen?
mm,
Yeah. So 100% is the mindset, the change of that
mm,
mindset. And it starts with realizing the power that you have, the potential that you have, realizing the location that you are in. And for me, I always say Germany is a virgin land for us, you know. And if you
mm,
can realize this, then I think that changes your mindset and you begin to feel powerful, and influential. And then you see opportunities rather than say challenges.
mm. Powerful, Michael. I think if I'm to take anything out of this is what's the one thing that could happen? And I can look at this from both angles. Worst thing that could happen if I take action, and worst thing that could happen if I don't take action.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And the second premise that you've just mentioned, which I find also very tremendously very key, is you have to be disruptive in some case, especially if you bring the otherness.
$100%.
Whenever you come into a new society, you are a disruptor in a way. People
Yep.
are used to a certain way of doing things. There's a certain decorum, there's a certain cultural way approach to things.
Yep.
And either you're so good at that and you adapt to it very well, or you bring in that disruptive mindset.
Yep.
And if you're looking at economies that are thriving, if you're looking at the biggest, the most famous startups, when they go to new places, the first thing is to understand how do things work here?
Mm-hmm.
How do
Mm-hmm.
people respect how is the working culture here? How
100%.
do people keep time here? And then the next thing is to bring in that mindset or that
Yep.
approach of yours. And in this case, I wanted to say the mindset change could also be, in my opinion, I would say the mindset change could be going away from this survival thinking. Because the first
Yep.
thing that you do when you arrive, you will start meeting people that will tell you, you know what, Mike,
Yep.
find that job in McDonald's without being disrespectful. I've done all this kind of stuff as a student, but I knew that was transition. But there are people who will tell you, you know what, this is where we're supposed to be. This is
Yep.
where we're supposed to be, and this is no competition for us. Here you're going to be safe, and so you have to challenge that mindset. You
Yep.
have to challenge these premises on this paradigm shift to say, you know what? Yes, I might need that small job for me to be able to pay my bills, to finish my studies, but I can also be a business creator. I can also be an innovator. I can also go into leadership. Even
Yep.
if it's leadership at that particular place where I am, I can strive for more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is part of the paradigm shift or the mindset change
Yep.
that needs to
Yep.
happen. And another part of mindset change, what I think is really lacking is that long term planning, that long term perspective. Because you and I, Mike, was one thing that we were shocked about when you came to these countries. The people ask you for things that are going to happen in next year and 2 years after. You're planning holidays for the next year, and I'm like, I've not even got the money to plan this. Why do you ask me to give me my holidays for next year? Like, so
Yep. You know?
this very simple approach to their planning. Yes, you
Yep.
don't have the money to go for a holiday in Mallorca
Mm-hmm.
or in Italy,
Mm-hmm.
but you still need to submit your holidays, right? Or you still need to plan that. For those of us who have kids, you got to plan. They give you a plan for the next year, even though you have not yet executed the one for this year. So you need to plan. They need to plan. The days when the schools are going to close, everything is way planned ahead. So, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we bring that mindset in the business world, in the
Yep.
studies, in the innovation, whatever we do, and we say, the associations that we belong to, they say, can we plan 5 years from now? How do we see this association?
Yep.
How do we see this organization in 5, in 10 years from now? What
Mm-hmm.
kind of activities do we need to start implementing to be able to get to that? Yes, we might not get there, but at least we know this is where we were supposed to be. I
Yep.
don't know what you think about that, Mike.
No, 100%. It's about thinking long term. It's about the vision. thinking
mm,
beyond today,
yeah.
thinking beyond keeping it safe,
Mm,
thinking long term, having a vision. So it all comes back to the mindset. And these, of course, in addition to many other things, are the things that are limiting,
mm,
us abroad to
mm.
thrive, to grow, to become influential, and to create the kind of opportunities which we
Yeah.
need. Yeah.
If I may just cut you short, Mike, if you were to use one of the experiences, I know you're doing a lot of this financial advisory, um, and you bring in that context of long-term planning. How relevant is this when we are planning how to thrive financially, starting from childhood? How do we do? How is this even implementable?
That's a good question, really, Stephen.
Mm,
And when you asked that question about mindset, I had one example from my experience providing financial advisory services to clients.
mm,
And we had this conversation. We spent maybe 1 hour talking to the client. We did a
mm,
deep, thorough financial analysis, showed the clients the results, and then like had a recommendation session where we like genuinely and sincerely say, okay, hey, this is
mm,
where I would start from. She
mm,
arrived Germany about 12 months ago. She's working, paying high tax, blah, blah, blah,
mm,
blah, blah. But then after the whole conversation, I just had this feeling like, okay, hey, this whole talk is just, she wouldn't do anything. The client won't do anything. You can
mm,
read people's body language and stuff. And then
mm,
I was like, okay, hey, please, before we leave this call, I want you to tell me honestly, how do you feel about this? What are you thinking right now? It would be nice for us to get your feedback right now that we are still on this call. So
mm,
you can tell us how you're feeling, so you don't go and think and give yourself answers which probably would be wrong, right?
mm,
So
mm,
when she, the response was in summary like she was not going to continue, and it's because of ABC. And the
mm,
reasons is also simply because she did not understand and she was not fully informed. And
mm,
she has had a completely different experience, which is
mm,
also what we are trying to correct. And then I told her
mm,
this, that what I have known so far is that when it comes to building wealth, there are
mm,
three mindsets that I've seen. There's the
mm.
poor mindset, there's the
Mhm.
rich mindset, and then there's the wealthy mindset. The poor
Wow,
mindset is the
that's
one,
interesting, Mike.
yeah,
Can you
I
break that
don't
down
know.
for us just to understand? It's really brilliant idea there.
Definitely. It occurred to me during that conversation, frankly speaking,
Mm,
and the poor mindset is I earn, I spend, I earn, I spend. And then sadly, within that poor mindset, you feel comfortable indulging expenses. Like the
mm,
bills never stop coming. And you're happy paying those bills because you feel you're obligated to pay those bills, which
mm,
to some extent is true. But the reason you're obligated to pay those bills is because you're not thinking outside of the scope of servicing expenses. So
mm,
when you get expense, it's easy for you to accept it. But when you get an opportunity to invest in your future, the future of your children, to protect yourself against whatever, you feel
mm,
it's an expense, which is actually an investment on yourself because you're so used to servicing regular expenses. And that's a really terrible mindset that people have, you know.
mm,
Then there is the rich mindset, which is you have a nice job, you're earning, life is comfortable, but there is no long term strategic plan, really nothing. If you lose that job today, maybe you have savings for a few months, but that's it, nothing more, you know?
mm,
So it's very temporary. But the
mm,
wealthy mindset is deep, it's thinking beyond today, it's thinking multiple levels of, uh, you know, multiple levels of income streams. And very importantly, it thinks at least in three levels. And the first level is how do I optimally protect myself?
mm,
Imagine, think about the wealthiest people today. If their house were to go on fire, they don't think about it for a second. Their car is
mm,
destroyed, whatever happens, most of the things insured because you know that things can happen beyond your control, or at least that's how life is. So you
mm,
have that optimal coverage, and that's how you can sustain whatever you have, you know.
mm,
The next level is leveraging what is already available to you. I give an example. Recently, we've been talking about how we can optimize our taxes, how we can reduce it, how we can properly declare our taxes to see that we get good returns.
mm,
Also, when talking about subsidies available to us in Germany, again, talking about information that we
mm,
don't really pay attention to be able to access it. So the
mm,
next level is what is already even available to me that I can leverage on, you know?
mm,
This is just the next level. And then finally, proactive investment, you know? So this is
mm,
the mindset of a wealthy person at multiple levels. So
mm,
bringing it back, I tell myself that, hey, if 12 years ago when I came to Germany, I knew some of the things I know today, I think things are going to be much different, you know? Because
mm,
one thing we should know is most of these plans, they take time, you know? And they're not things that are going to happen overnight. And that's the problem. I'm sure you must have experienced this from some of your clients, you know. They want things
100%.
today, they want it today, today, tomorrow. It never
Mm,
happens like that. And that's because, you know, we don't plan long term. And then when the need arises, it's always an urgency, always an urgency, always an urgency. I just
mm,
lost my job. How can I get illegal? How can I get legal consultation? Well, you should have had legal insurance when you got the job at first, you know?
mm, mm. Good stuff, Mike. I just wrote, you've been seeing me writing and writing. I think the part that you've just said right now, how different would your life be if you knew what you now know 12 years ago? And I think this is a question that we always ask ourselves. That shows how important time can change things. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
behind that time, behind that is the knowledge that we know. And this is exactly what we are doing. We provide knowledge. How you use this knowledge today,
It's up to you.
tomorrow, 5, 10 years from now is totally different
Yeah,
because everyone is listening and trying to make sense out of this differently.
yeah,
But
yeah,
also, one thing, Mike, you've touched on financial literacy. Financial literacy as part and parcel of that long term strategy of thriving. And you've just been touching base briefly on very key things that are very important in the German financial world.
yeah,
One being things like pension,
yeah,
things like how basically the pension system here works, Mike.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
so complicated, but it's also easy for those who want to know more, who want to learn more about it, right? Whether
100%.
you are a student, whether you are a vocational or a university student, this will affect your life as long as you plan to stay here for a given number of years, right?
That's correct.
And
Yeah,
then you've touched base on subsidies.
yeah,
Subsidies are there, and most of the time, these are government programs that are meant to help people to jumpstart their wealth projects or to help them because they know, we all know that the country or most of the Western world is evolving. The populations are not growing as fast as it should.
yeah,
That means the rate at which young people are born is not that as expected. That means anything that you plan is long term, that is long term, you need to have a plan B.
yeah,
If the welfare state cannot come in, how are you going to be able to survive? Then you've talked about briefly about liabilities from the literacy, the financial angle, because today you're financially stable, but is your stability attached to the currency or to the employment and the salary that you receive? And
hmm,
what if that fails? What if that comes short of? How able are you to sustain yourself and your status of your well-being, and also those that are looking forward to you for support? And I
yeah,
think these are very key things that we need to look at because surviving or thriving is not just a fancy word, but
yeah,
it is backed by a lot of hard stuff that are behind there. Real estate, with thinking about this is also a mindset change, Mike.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
if someone
mhm,
told you about real estate, let's say 5, 6 years ago, you would say, "Are you crazy?" You're just happy to be able to afford the apartment where you're, right? And now
yeah,
here comes someone says you can actually own an apartment, you can own a piece of land, you can buy that house. And there is a real strategy and basic information that is there available.
mhm,
But because of the mindset shift, with
yeah.
sometimes the mindset is so strong that even things that are freely available there, we fear to ask.
You know, that's how sad it is. Even things that are a hundred
Yeah,
percent freely available. And that's
yeah,
why it goes back to the question, what's the
mm,
worst thing that could happen?
yeah.
You know?
Interesting.
Yeah,
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 that's the other thing. And now, Mike, I think time is running, but this is getting more interesting. Now, to take it further from here, we now know the status quo. Yes, we are still surviving, right?
Yeah.
And we know that, yes, there are opportunities, and these opportunities amazingly are also freely available if you
Yeah.
tap into them, if you seek information
Yeah.
and knowledge. And the challenge that we keep, or the question we keep getting, Mike, where do I find these opportunities? Where do I find this information? How can I tap into that in order to thrive?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first place, look no further than this podcast. Look no further than this podcast. Wherever you're watching or listening to this from, be sure to follow and subscribe. Really,
Mm-hmm.
because I genuinely believe that the best things in life will still be for free. You know, free
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that the information you're getting right now is free. Whatever networking opportunity that will come out of this is most likely going to be for free for you. So the first place is, yeah, follow us right now.
Mm-hmm.
But um, beyond that, definitely is professional ecosystem. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, so there are the different social media platforms and stuff. Probably you're watching this from one of them right now, but we need to go beyond that whole social networking and also get into the professional ecosystem. What
Mm-hmm.
do you imagine for yourself? And sometimes you're not even sure, but what is the closest thing that really excites you? Try to connect with people within that space. So the professional ecosystem is where to start from, and then we begin to collaborate with other like-minded people like us. It really helps because there's the saying that iron sharpens iron. So you will learn from the experiences of other people. I've learned a lot of stuff from Steven, and I believe also he has learned also a lot of stuff from me as well. And then I also have my own network, which I've grown over the years independently. And Steven can tap into that network, and the same goes from me tapping into his network.
Yeah.
Um, Gradually, I'm becoming very known within the Ugandan community in Germany to a level that people think I'm actually Ugandan, which I think it's a great thing.
What's your
I
Uganda name again?
we haven't decided that yet. you
I
know
thought you're called Mukasa, right? Didn't you? Okay.
I have to think about that and select a good one. But the other thing is, yeah, begin to like connect with people with a similar mindset, similar story, similar experience, learn from
Mm,
them, and
mm,
really be open to new stuff, things you don't know about.
mm,
And then of course, partnerships, with German professionals, because the thing is this, we are, and then with our default limitations, but there are also bridges to go
mm,
from those limitations to the other side. And that's where the partnerships with German professionals come in, other organizations, like what we are doing at Opportunity Pulse. The
mm,
main reason why Stephen and I started Opportunity Pulse is, where is that place? Where's the heartbeat of opportunities in Germany? First
mm,
and foremost, we realize how much the German government is spending to bring people from outside of
mm,
Germany in here, whereas there are thousands of people that are not fully engaged. And this was how the journey began. Everything that we do today came from that mindset to see, hey, there are lots of people here who are not engaged. How do we get them engaged? And one key thing we've been doing is connecting these different communities together and creating a bridge to see that we also begin to collaborate with other people who already have the influence, who already have the legacies. Let's put it that way, who
mm,
already have tapped into the system. The
mm,
first successful event we had 2 years ago in Berlin, that brought us with major key opinion leaders within the key industries in Germany. And really,
mm,
this is how it happens. Then of course, your personal branding, people need to know you for something. What are you known for? Everyone has their strength, and you can brand yourself professionally, so when you tap into this space, you're ready. Because it's going to be sad when an opportunity comes to you and you're not ready to tap into the opportunity. So it goes on and on, but the key thing is that networking. And you cannot network if you're sitting in the comfort of your home, if you're not connecting, you're not talking to other people, you're not trying out new things, like nothing is going to change, because you will just be limited to the things that you know and the things that a few people around you know. But then you will not have the opportunity to really learn from other people and actually begin to take up leadership positions as you should. Yeah.
Powerful, powerful. I think two things that I find very critical that you mentioned. Um, get out of your comfort zone. That
100%.
means networking means you have to be proactive, you have to be active
Yeah.
to work towards meeting other people. Of course, there if you're offering something nice and huge and beautiful, people will come to you. So you got that magnet. But at the
Hmm.
stage where you are at the surviving mode, you got to be going out of your comfort zone. And just wanted to connect this to our recent conference, Mike, where you played a very huge role. We had a meeting of Uganda European Convention, Beco in Berlin.
Yeah.
Huge success. We had 200 plus people that came from North America, from Scandinavia, from UK and Ireland, and all over Germany. And they were here in Berlin for 3 days. It was an amazing experience, Mike, because part of this we had people exhibiting their business ideas, innovative ideas. I don't know if you remember that young man on Sunday who was presenting that box,
Yep.
very
Yep.
innovative mindset.
The outlet.
We had people talking about their business creations. That we had people showing cultural values. Like
Hmm.
I saw someone selling stuff that I haven't seen in about maybe 15 years. Do you know these pots from Uganda, typically Africa, and we use
Yeah.
normally to drink beer or alcohol? And the way that person renovated that item, I was like, culture can also be a very
Of
valuable good.
course. Yeah.
How they created the local cloth and they turned it to something very nicely. A young lady came wearing a very modern dress but made of
Hmm.
backcloth, something that in
Hmm.
the past people would look at and be laughing. But she completely converted this into something valuable, and everyone was wow. And I
Yep.
can imagine she could become a brand ambassador to some very serious company or
100%.
clothing companies for that.
Yep.
So, and that takes us back to that thing that um, visibility, like when you go out, be visible, don't try to hide in the masses. And by being visible, Mike, you just mentioned, take leadership. If there is a group discussion and they say we're looking for panelists to head this topic or to channel the knowledge in this topic, be the first to raise your hand and say, here I am, I want to lead that topic. Because
Yep.
you don't know who is listening, you don't know who is going to be watching that thing.
Yep.
And maybe the same person in that group is been looking for a PR or a product manager or a marketing head of that, and they see that value that you have. So I think this comes when you go out of your way to network. And when you go to network, don't hide, be visible, and try to promote something unique about yourself and be open about what you do and let
Yep.
people know that so that maybe there's a person who needs exactly that what you offer.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. Great. So,
So we're
guys,
wrapping this up, Mike. Would you like to say why is this session important and who is behind this and where can people find further knowledge concerning these topics that we are discussing?
yeah. So, this podcast is brought to you by Settling, and that's the platform that we are building to make migration accessible, easy, and very importantly, sustainable. Because at the end of the day, if you start something, if it's not sustainable, it's going to end at some point, and probably sadly. So, given everything that we've seen so far, we felt the need to build a platform that brings together everything within the migration space. And that is the sponsor of this podcast. You're seeing it right now on the screen. If you can, scan the QR code there to download the mobile app, and that's the Android mobile app for Settling. The iOS version is going to be out soon, but if you don't want to download the app, definitely you can also access the platform online, the web version. So we would love to hear from you, get your feedback. Stephen and I, we are humans, we're not AIs. So we'll be happy to hear from you. What do you think about the topic that is going on right now? And
Yeah, Mike, I have a question for you. That sometime back, the last podcast we had, someone reached out to me directly and asked me, I like the content, I like what you're talking about. And I was wondering if I can also promote my brand on your podcast. Is there any way that I can get in touch? Is this something that you're open to? Or if someone is out there is thinking the ideas that you're proposing actually align with our values, with the products, the community that we serve, is there an opportunity for such people to showcase and to be visible on this platform?
Yeah, 100%. We would love that. And actually, thank whoever thought about that. Thank you very much. We would love to hear from you, learn about what are your ideas, your values, and see how they align with ours as well. Definitely, our organization, Opportunity Pulse, needs all the supports that it can get because that's the only way we can sustain what we do. Stephen and myself, we are both self employed entrepreneurs, and you can imagine doing that with family and everything else which we do. So, we definitely would love to hear from you and whatever support that you want from us. We're happy to discuss that as well and take whatever you have to offer. And definitely, if it aligns with our value, also showcase what you do on our show. Yeah.
Great. So I think I've done justice to that person who asked that question. Thank you, Mike. And my final last question, Mike, again into that point of thriving and thriving in the German context. In your opinion, what would you say if you look at an African diaspora migrant and you say this person has really thrived in this country? How would that look like?
Ooh, um, well, we have one of them, our dear Jane, who has the nursing school in Berlin. Actually, I think the biggest international nursing school in Germany. And I think, give me one sec, I need to plug my PC. So,
Mhm,
what it looks like is not necessarily to just have a company, but you've seen
mhm,
something that exists that most people are not keen into. If I recall
mhm,
correctly, Jane's vision is to have a place where internationals, Africans, or other foreigners can feel comfortable to work because yes, they are qualified, they have the strength, they know how to do the job, but
mhm.
maybe they have one or two issues with the language, couldn't grasp it very well. But it doesn't make them stupid, doesn't make that they're not learned, it doesn't make them, I don't
Mm,
know, and
mm,
this was both the anger, but also the motivation to start up something. And
mm,
today, that institution is the biggest international nursing school, probably not
mm,
just Berlin, I don't know, maybe, but for sure in the whole of Berlin, right?
mm.
So that's
Absolutely.
definitely one example, not so far away from us, right?
Mm.
And if you
Yeah.
look, you'll see many, many more of them. And I genuinely feel like it's about saying, hey, enough of this bullshit. We can
Mm,
actually do something for ourselves, right?
mm,
And the good thing is, there's a system which is relatively fair for everyone to thrive. There are hurdles. I'm not saying there are no hurdles, but to a large extent, you can still thrive. And that's
mm,
what we are trying to encourage everybody to not
mm.
just settle for less. No, do
Yeah.
something, be different. Yeah,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I also genuinely believe that for me, the key benchmark to thriving, besides maybe having properties and wealth and having owning buildings or schools or whatever, is that we are able to strategically position ourselves in key roles that impact our daily lives, whether it's
100%.
in education, whether it is in health, whether it is in construction, whether it is into science and tech. That to me is a very clear indicator. And once we start going to places and you see, if I go into Burger Armed, let's say Tiergarten, and I see someone that looks like me that I can identify with, if I go into Deutsche Bank and I meet my friend Keith, who is doing investment and financial guidance for big companies, if I go into Martin Luther Krankenhaus and I meet my former student Lumi, or if I go to Wald Krankenhaus and I meet Naomi, that to me is a clear indicator that we
Yep.
are going into the system.
Yep.
Positioning ourselves strategically means one person goes into the system, learns how it works, enables others to learn how the system works, or even gives them a chance on the ladder and shows them how to make it there. It's
Mhm.
not about fighting any other community, but it's about uplifting each other because in one way or the other, you're still going to be in the minority and you still need a lot of say to be able to influence the things on the ground.
Yeah.
To me, that would be the real high level of thriving.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yes, so with that, Mike, I think we come to the end of the session today. I think we could continue doing this, but we said we're going to keep time. So that's it. Your final remarks, Mike.
Yeah. So thanks to everyone watching this, and also thank you, Stephen, as well. And shout outs to the Ugandan community in Germany, in Europe, and wherever you may be watching this from. Yeah, it was a great event over the weekend. And we would love to hear from everyone who's watching this. Reach out to us. Let us know what you're building. Please do not build in isolation. The entrepreneurial space in general is very lonely. And then it gets even lonelier in Germany, or if you're living abroad because you're not really familiar with the place. So please get in touch. Let us know what you're building. Let's come together, pull each other up, and yeah, truly build influence, opportunities, and legacies where we are. Thank you.
Mm, thank you, Mike. And my final remarks are simply to say that, you know what? When you come here, you're looking for something bigger than what you could find back home. You're looking for structure, you're looking for safety, for progress. But don't forget that you're coming with something also unique. You have the culture. You
Yeah,
come with that fighting spirit, that resilience. And you don't need to forget that, because that's what's going to help you to thrive. The
yeah,
structure might be there, but the strength that you bring into that structure is what's going to help you to beat this bureaucracy, to beat the language challenges, the barriers that you might meet. And that's what we need to thrive. So, with that in mind, I think we're all able to thrive. So, thank you so much, Mike, and to everyone who is listening and viewing this.
cheers, guys, and I will wish you all a nice Friday evening.
Cheers.